Good morning. Start your day informed and ahead. Today is Thursday, the 9th of July. I'm Angela Lagunzad Castro.
And I'm Cheska Leton-Calao. We are bringing you the perfect mix of the headlines you need and the conversations that shape your day.
From the news desk to the digital space, we have got you covered. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and welcome to Morning Matters.
The defense panel cross-examined NBI senior agent John Mark Calilong on day 3 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial. Calilong had testified on the authentication of Duterte's November 2024 online press conference video, which the prosecution is using for the grave threats article. Defense lawyer Carlo Nervasa pressed Calilong on the scope of the NBI probe, including whether investigators considered the full context of the video and the events involving Duterte's Chief of Staff, Attorney Zulaika Lopez.
Did you investigate the threats to Attorney Zulaika's life?
We need a complaint for this one. That's why
Yes or no, sir? Did you investigate?
we did not, because there's no
You did
no
not.
complaint.
Okay, thank you.
The prosecution repeatedly objected, but presiding officer Senator Chis Escudero allowed several questions to proceed. Senator judges also began questioning Calilong after the defense ended its cross-examination.
Sinasabi po ba ng depensa na yung mga alleged threats o alleged incitements ni VP Duterte ay prompted nung detention ni Attorney Lopez?
Yes, Your Honor. There was a systematic oppression made by the House of Representatives dating back from even before their mini trial, Your Honor.
All right, so it was the turn of the prosecution panel to object yesterday at the hearing. But of course, the most talked about kumbaga, situation or incident in the impeachment trial yesterday was the other part of the video of the alleged threat of Vice President Sara Duterte, which is they showed si former Chief of Staff niya, si Zulaika Lopez, crying because nga, she felt oppressed and she feels there's a threat for her life, etc. And of course, so what happened there is that the eagerness of the defense na kumbaga to show that the respondent is the victim at meron talagang systematic oppression, yung after exhaustive cross-examination ng defense doon sa witness, di ba? Kumbaga parang kino-question pa yung kanyang credibility, etc. and authenticity of the video, ay parang it became immaterial, no? Just to prove na okay, kaya siya nagbanta, di ba? Dahil may banta rin sa buhay niya. Hence the Oplan Romanov na sinasabi nila.
Yeah, we heard that from Attorney Vinluan. Yun na nga, he was saying na while the VP's response was unconventional, it was justified. Kasi nga, what triggered her can we say rant? Are we allowed to say rant?
For the lack of a better
For
term.
lack of a better term, what triggered that was yun na nga, yung Operation Romanov, which allegedly is a
Pwede
plot
rin
to
Oplan,
eliminate the Vice President and her entire family.
So, Attorney Mark Binduan did even mention Operation Romanov twice, right? Or Oplan Romanov.
Yeah.
Pwede rin
Pwede
naman.
rin naman. Oo, pwede.
Oo. So that's what the defense was trying to zero in, that the reason why the Vice President made these threats is because there was a threat on her own life. He was able to give also this speech because remember, nung Tuesday, nung date of the trial, the prosecution was also able to lay out their argument, diba, on why they think that the grave threats constitute an impeachable offense. But some analysts are now saying that what the defense pointed out yesterday na this is a conditional threat. Sabi nila, parang whataboutism yung ginagawa nila, di ba? Na hindi naman porket ginawa mo yon, you point to other things that also happen. What we're talking about here is what the Vice President did.
Said.
Oo. So there's a proper forum for
Oo.
if they also want to investigate or file an impeachment complaint against the President for also allegedly making a threat, di ba?
So kung parang sinasabi na for regular people, is it okay then to threaten someone
Yes.
else because you feel that or you
You were
felt
being
that you were
threatened
threatened as
also.
well? Or is it okay for a regular Joe, an ordinary citizen, to threaten the government or the president himself kasi he or she felt that he was threatened at that time? So yun yung mga pinag-uusapan yesterday.
But it finished early yesterday.
Yeah,
ah.
before 5 p.m.
Yeah. But also because the prosecution already said they won't redirect or anything na. And then the next witness na nga will be Attorney Lotok on
Pero
Monday.
ako naman, I wanna ask the relevance of the video of the former Chief of Staff of VP Sara. Diba? Kasi at that particular time that she was crying, etc., the oppression was supposedly coming from the House of Representatives. Diba? So parang papapaisip ka, okay, so are you trying to say na hawak ng administration ang House of Representatives? Pero how are you going to prove that? Diba? Yun yung nakikita natin. Pwede natin tanungin.
So that's what we're gonna wait for with Captain Belinda Bello, diba? She
She's
was
also witness.
Sergeant at Arms
Ng House of Representatives.
House of Representatives. I think she's scheduled for Tuesday.
And
Nasayangan lang talaga ako dun sa oras, parang 1.5 hours or so, yung examination, cross-examination, doon sa witness na NBI to question his credibility, yung authenticity ng video.
And then ending.
And then ending parang immaterial na nga, as I've said kanina.
well, si Attorney Zulaika Lopez naman will also be called as a witness next week, diba? Kasabay niya si Attorney Lotok. So that's something we can watch out for on Monday when the trial resumes. But for this week, that's it. 3 days have already passed. Thursday and Friday, naka-break po ang Senate. They will convene again on Monday at 2 p.m.
Oh, sorry, correction. So it's Attorney Lotok on Monday, Zulaika Lopez on Tuesday, and then Captain Belinda Bello on Wednesday.
Oh, okay. So Tuesday pa si
Tuesday
Attorney Zulaika. Ay, marami tayong aabangan dyan, no? But in other news, Malacanang on Wednesday rejected Vice President Sara Duterte's description of her impeachment trial as a bloodbath and bludgeoning. Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro countered that it was Duterte herself who had wanted a bloodbath. Castro made the remarks a day after the Vice President appeared at the Senate as she Duterte herself appeared at the Senate where she delivered a line adapted from the popular poem Invictus. She also criticized Duterte for not directly addressing the allegations against her, saying the public wants to hear her respond to the accusation herself.
At tulad sa sinabi sa Invictus, kung yun po ang kanyang iniisip at kanyang opinion ay hindi naman natin siya mapapahinto sa kanyang pagsasalita patungkol dito. At magiging madugo talaga to kung hindi makikita ng taong bayan ang katotohanan.
Okay, so there you have it. Undersecretary Claire Castro saying finally may basihan na daw si Vice President Sara Duterte when she said that she wanted a bloodbath and bludgeoning. She will be blooded but unbowed, and that was yesterday. We talked about it, right? Based on the poem Invictus by William Ernest Henley.
Yeah.
But alam naman natin, no, because before that, Yusek Claire Castro has always been criticizing the Vice President for not having any basis to her claims, like saying that this impeachment was orchestrated by President Bongbong Marcos, that she is being politically persecuted. But wala naman daw basehan yung Vice President for those claims.
And we also talked about this, na this is not the first time that the Duterte family has quoted Invictus. We saw, I think, was that Baste?
Si Kitty
was yung sa
The Hague.
The Hague.
Oo.
And then I think Baste also mentioned it before. Apparently, it's their father's
Favorite
favorite
poem.
poem. It really is a beautiful poem.
Yes, it is. Favorite ni Nelson Mandela yan.
Oh, no? Pinag-usapan din natin Invictus ka.
Diba? Oo. Pero yun nga. Pero ako doon din, well, di naman din na tayo nababago dun sa sagutan ng nila Yusek Claire Castro and Vice President Sara Duterte. But of course, ang napapansin ko lang din, yung family nila Duterte, mahilig sila mag-reference no, sa mga historical facts and the poem, Invictus, tapos yun nga yung Oplan Romanov, no? I remember kasi...
Oplan na siya. Official.
Oplan
Official.
naman talaga
Oplan na.
yung si tinawag nila doon. I remember kasi I got interested in Romanov prophecy dati dahil I was reading a book about it by Steve Berry. It was a fictional book pero it delved into the background of the history of the Romanov. Yung, kumbaga, ito kasi yung imperial family 300 years ago, they reigned the Russia, pero yung Bolshevik nga, di ba, they killed them in history, di ba? History would tell us that they were killed by the Bolshevik.
Conspiracy theory pa, Anastasia.
Di ba, the whole family, etc. So parang naano ko dun. So parang inire-reference sila at that time na ang mangyayari sa Duterte family ay mau-Oplan Romanov. Parang uubusin. Pero if you can remember, yung mention ng Oplan Romanov na yun, doon sa video na yun, di ba, na naka-live stream, ay hindi din natin alam kung saan ang galing. Parang narinig lang
It
natin
just
sa sinabi
came
ng
out.
mga vloggers, di ba? So parang, kumbaga, officially, walang nanggaling sa atin. Di ba? Yung saan ba, kailangan nila patunayan na meron ba talagang Oplan Romanov against the Dutertes.
All right, moving over to weather. Despite heavy rains brought by the southwest monsoon, well, Angat Dam, the water level at Angat Dam continued to decline according to monitoring data. Records from the Bulacan Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office showed that Angat Dam's water level dropped to 156.98 meters as of 2 p.m. on Wednesday from 157.52 meters the previous day. The water level remains 3.02 meters below the critical mark of 160 meters and 23.02 meters below the minimum operating level of 180 meters. To help slow the decline, the National Water Resources Board earlier adjusted the water allocation for Metro Manila. Irrigation supply from Angat Dam, which passes through Bustos Dam, also remains suspended for rice farms in Bulacan and parts of Pampanga. So it's quite frustrating, no? Because it's either we're dealing with flood or we're dealing with a lack of
How ironic, di ba?
It's
Palibot tayo ng tubig and yet there's...
but also
situation like
that 156.98 meters, that's a record low. The previous record was 157.57 meters. This was back in July 2010. So but there are environmental groups who are also calling out the slow implementation of RA 6716, so that's the Rainwater Collector and Springs Development Law. This mandates the DPWH to construct wells, springs, and rainwater collectors in every barangay nationwide.
Well, I remember talking to Pag-asa expert yesterday, no, asking nga yung mga ulan na dadalhin supposedly ng Super Typhoon Inday, which is Typhoon Inday na lang pala ngayon, ay will it bring water, di ba? Will it increase water sa Angat Dam? Kaya lang sabi, unfortunately, kasi iba yung track nga ni Inday, di ba? So kung magkakaroon man ng increase ng water sa Angat Dam, minimal lang.
Very minimal, oo. Well, I guess this is also partly because of the anticipated effects na rin of the very strong El Nino. The proper term for that is very strong, di ba? Hindi super El Nino, as a meteorologist would say. Kasi ang mangyayari dyan is mas kakaunti na rin yung ulan na dadalhin, di ba? Pati yung mga weather disturbances. So, actually, the government should be focusing on this as well, apart from, where the headlines are being dominated now by politics, of course, the impeachment trial, but hopefully on the executive, the part of the executive, our government, we are preparing already for the potential devastating effects of the very strong El Nino, because this will affect, syempre, yung mga pananim, yung mga crops, di ba? Yung water supply natin. And if we run out of water, that's going to be a huge problem for us.
Kumbaga parang this is not just a water resource problem, it's also energy and the economy, di ba? Chain reaction.
Because as Paui said, like, while everyone is focused on the political issues at hand, life goes on for every other Filipino. So hopefully there are resolutions to this. But don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. We are We're joined by Pag-asa weather specialist Dan Villamil. Dan, ano na ang latest kay Typhoon Inday?
ng 215 kilometers per hour. At sa kasalukuyan, yung movement nito ay west-northwestward sa bilis sa 20 kilometers per hour. As of 5 a.m., may nakataas pa rin tayong tropical cyclone wind signal number 1 sa Batanes, Cagayan, Babuyan Islands, Isabela, northeastern portion ng Quirino, Apayao, northern portion ng Abra, Kalinga, eastern portion ng Mountain Province, eastern portion ng Ifugao, Ilocos Norte, northern portion ng Aurora, at itong northern and central portions ng Catanduanes. Kaya sa mga lugar na ito, maghanda po tayo sa mga pagbugso ng hangin na dulot ng papalapit na bagyong Inday. Maghanda rin po tayo sa mga posibleng damages sa mga infrastruktura na gawa sa light materials. At sa kasalukuyan, less likely naman o hindi naman maglalandfall itong si bagyong Inday sa ating bansa. Pero dahil sa epekto ng southwest monsoon na habagat na hinahatak ng bagyo, makakaranas tayo ng maulap na kalangitan at mga pag-ulan, especially dito sa kanlurang bahagi ng ating bansa. Maghanda pa rin po tayo at maging alerto sa mga banta ng pagbaha at pagbuhon ng lupa, especially sa mga susunod na araw, lalong-lalo na kung tuloy-tuloy at malalakas yung mga pag-ulan na ating mararanasan. At sa kalagayan ng ating karagatan, may gale warning rin tayo nakataas dito sa northern and eastern seaboards ng Luzon at Visayas, kaya sa ating mga kababayang mangingisda at may mga maliliit na sasakyan pandagat sa mga lugar na ito, huwag po muna tayong pumalaot dahil makaranas tayo ng maalong karagatan na dulot nitong si Bagyong Inday.
Dan,
Yes po.
Oo, Dan, matanong ko lang, may chance ba na mag-re-intensify pa itong si Typhoon Inday?
Sa ngayon po, mapapanatili na nito yung weakening trend. No? So sa mga susunod na or sa mga succeeding issuances po natin, asahan natin na patuloy yung pagkina nitong bagyo.
So, kailan natin inaasahang lalabas ng PAR itong si Typhoon Inday?
Inaasahan natin yung possible exit ng ating PAR ay by Saturday. Pero kahit nasa labas na ito ng ating park dahil may kalawakan nga yung mga saklaw na hangin na dala nito, kahit nasa labas na posible magkaroon pa rin tayo ng tropical cyclone wind signal sa ilang bahagi ng extreme northern Luzon.
So magiging maulan pa rin ngayong Friday at Saturday, Dan. Ano na rin yung inyong forecast para sa Metro Manila?
For Metro Manila, magsisimula yung mga pag-ulan bukas. As we speak, nagkakaroon na tayo ng mga pag-ulan dito sa western sections ng Visayas at western sections ng Mindanao. Yung mga pag-ulan na ito, inaasahan natin na bahagyang mag-shift kumbaga yung rainfall distribution northward. So starting tomorrow, Metro Manila and western section of Luzon, makakaranas rin po tayo ng mga pag-ulan.
Bukod dito, Dan, may iba pa bang weather disturbance na binabantayan ang Pag-asa?
Bukod kay Inday, as of now, wala pa naman tayo monitor na low pressure area o namang sama ng panahon.
Alright, thank you very much for those updates. That was Pag-asa weather specialist Dan Villamil. Now, a moderately explosive eruption was recorded at Canlaon Volcano in the Negros Island region this morning. The eruption has since ended at 7:36 a.m. Authorities are expected to release more details on the eruption, including possible ashfall and safety advisories for nearby communities. Residents are also advised to stay alert and to follow official updates. The Senate Impeachment Court concluded the first week of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial on Wednesday. And mobile journalist Merimon Reyes joins us live with the latest developments. Merimon?
Pauline, good morning. The first week of the historic impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte capped and was accomplished with its first set of witnesses. Pero ang sinabi dyan ni impeachment spokesperson, Attorney Reggie Tonggol, hindi siya perfect kasi supposedly yung dalawa na ipepresent na witnesses kahapon and even nung starting July 7, isa lang ang natapos doon. At dyan, yun nga ay si NBI agent John Mark Calilong. But that's okay daw kasi while natapos na maaga ang cross-examination kahapon on the defense's side, hindi nagkaroon ng redirect examination sa part ng prosecution dito kay Calilong. Ang sinabi ng prosecution, they will be using yung 11 trial dates that they have allotted para sa pagsasalang ng article of impeachment for or alleged threats na binitiwan ni Vice President Sara Duterte kay Pangulo Bongbong Marcos, First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. What we know so far, ang next nilang ipepresenta next week na pinayagan naman din daw ng impeachment court ay si NBI Regional Director Jeremy Lotto. Monday, July 30 na siya ipepresenta. Dapat kahapon siya ipepresenta sana. And then, Attorney Zulaika Lopez, Chief of Staff din ni Vice President Sara Duterte, ipinapasampina na sa Tuesday siya inaasahang ipepresenta at tetestigo. Also from the House of Representatives, we have Captain Belinda Bello. Sa Wednesday naman siya ipepresenta. And for now, ang nakita natin sa sa examination na ginawa dito kay Calilong, kine-question naman ng defense yung kanyang ginawang training, bakit daw doon sa kumpanya kung saan ang supposed business nito ay procurement daw ng equipment. Sinabi naman ni Calilong na part naman daw ng kanilang procurement service yung training na natanggap niya. Kasi nga na-assign siya sa Cybercrime Security Division, yung digital forensics, yung training niya doon. Pero so far, ang isa sa nagiging pressing na question dyan is yung time ba na pinlay yung video na itong si Zulaika Lopez ay ine-express yung takot niya sa sarili niya, yung ilipat daw siya sa Women's Correctional Facility na may threat daw sa buhay niya. Ito raw ba yung systematic oppression na nagdulot kaya may binitiwang ganong umano'y pagbabanta si VP Sara? And in the affirmative, sinasabi ng defense, yes daw may systematic oppression, pero yung iba pang mga usapin tungkol dyan, sa susunod na linggo pa siya maaari mapag-usapan muli. Pauline.
Okay, Mary Mon, alam ko ang parehong panig nag-conduct din ng kani-kanilang press conference matapos ang day 3 ng impeachment trial. Can you give us ano yung naging assessment? Let's start with the prosecution sa naging unang linggo ng impeachment trial ni VP Sara.
Pauline, okay naman daw. Ang tinututukan ngayon na prosecution, according kay Attorney Benjamin Talosa, spokesman nila, ang focus din ngayon na prosecution is building an airtight case at hindi raw nakatutok ngayon sa pagpapababa ng voting threshold. Ang sinabi rin naman kasi kahapon, for example, nung pinakilala ni Congressman Lawrence Defensor, yung mga plano nila ipakilala next week, in-explain nga nila na while pwede nang ipagpatuloy kahapon, kasi around 5, ganun siya, maaga siyang natapos compared nung Tuesday na around 6 siyang natapos, gagamitin daw nila efficiently itong 11 trial dates. On the part naman of the defense, sinabi naman ni Attorney Michael Powa, 10 out of 10 yung nakikita nilang naging daloy ng cross-examination ng defense, and they are looking forward sa mga susunod pang araw at handa naman daw sila sa lahat ng ipepresenta at itetestigo. Ang isang napansin din nga lang natin on both parts of the prosec and the defense, umuulan din ng objections talaga. And even nung day 2, on the defense, marami objections. Kahapon day 3, on the part of the prosecution, marami ring objections. Ang nasabi naman dito ni impeachment spokes, Attorney Tonggol, normal lang yan. Plus, lenient si presiding officer, Senator Chis Escudero, pagdating sa ganito, sa pagsagot ng witness, yung pagtatanong ng prosec or ng defense, kasi nga iba raw ang impeachment court compared sa ibang court of law, lalo pag court na criminal case ang nakasalang, iba daw yun. Kasi hindi lang naman daw senator judge ang nakaharap, nanonood din daw ang mga tao. Kumbaga, court of public opinion din na maraming tanong na hinihintay na masagot. So, ang sinasabi for now ng impeachment court, pinapakiramdaman din naman daw nila yung manner of questioning and answering, yung time na naibibigay o nauubos para matansya naman nila sa mga susunod na araw kung ano ang mangyayari. Kaya yung 92 trial days na nakalabas sa pre-trial order, may possibility daw na mabago yon. It would really depend sa magiging flow ng trial as it goes. Pauline.
All right, for now, thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes. Senator Rodante Marcoleta remains at the PNP General Hospital 2 days after his arrest over a non-bailable plunder case. Police doctors say the 72-year-old senator is clinically stable but is still under monitoring. Tests have shown that he has degenerative disc disease, mild pneumonia, high blood pressure, and an enlarged heart. And because of his condition, Marcoleta did not personally appear before the Sandigan Bayan for the return of his arrest warrant. A commitment order has been issued for his detention at the new Quezon City Jail male dormitory. But doctors say he is not yet fit for travel, pending more medical tests.
Hindi ko po masasabi sa ngayon yun kung kailan po siya pwedeng ilabas po. Depende pag nakumpleto na natin yun, naging maintain na po yung blood pressure niya and okay na siya. Wala naman po problema na ilabas po natin si Senator Marcoleta.
And in other news, President Bongbong Marcos has appointed former Interior Secretary Benhur Abalos as Cabinet Secretary. Here's the report.
Minsan na po siya tanong kung magiging parte ng kabinete niya si dating DILG Secretary Benjamin Abalos Jr. At sinabi lang po niya na nais naman niya makatrabaho muli ang dating DILG Secretary. At ito na po ang tugon sa maraming katanungan kung siya ay masasaling muli sa kabinete.
This was Palace Press Officer Ter Castro's explanation as she announced the appointment of Benhur Abalos as the new Cabinet Secretary. Abalos will lead the Cabinet Secretariat, the key coordinating office within the executive branch of the government. The last position Abalos held was DILG Chief from 2022 to 2024. He resigned in October 2024 to run for senator under the banner of President Marcos's Alianza para sa Bagong Pilipinas. Abalos lost, placing 16th in the race. Meantime, Castro Bimbas assured reporters the alleged source of Vice President Sara Duterte's infamous statement aligned from William Ernest Hanley's Invictus. But as to whether there is indeed bloodbath and bludgeoning,
Katulad sa sinabi sa Invictus, kung yun po ang kanyang iniisip at kanyang opinion ay hindi naman natin siya mapapahinto sa kanyang pagsasalita patungkol dito. At magiging madugo talaga to kung hindi makikita ng taong bayan ang katotohanan.
Castro also took a dig at Senator Pia Cayetano, who said Palace seems to be very supportive of Senate majority.
Kamusta na po ba, Senator Pia Cayetano? Dahil sa tuwing nagsasalita siya very recently, ay lagi siyang parang hinihingal. At di natin alam kung excitement, anxiety, pero siguro napansin niyo rin na medyo hingal na hingal si Senator Pia sa kanyang pananalita. So di naman po niya susuportahan ang desisyon ng majority kung ito ay mayroong pag-uutos para sa isang lock and load order, ang pag-ayon sa pagpapaputok ng isang General Aplaska, at hindi rin naman po siya sasang-ayon sa isang pagpapatakas sa katulad po ni Senator Bato.
On Wednesday morning, President Marcos led the national kick-off of a school-based feeding program in Pulilan, Bulacan. For now, all Marcos assures his kids of poor families will be helped by the administration's feeding program in public schools.
Kung minsan, ang nagiging dahilan kung bakit hindi makapag-aral na mabuti yung mga kabataan ay kulang sa pagkain. At kaya tinanggal na natin yung problema na yan para tiyak tayo na lahat ng mga pumapasok na nag-aaral ay hindi na kailangan alalahanin ang kanilang kakainin, hindi na alalahanin ang kanilang mga pamilya, ang pamahalaan na ang tutulong at ang pamahalaan na ang magpapakain.
The chief executive also announced a possible wage hike for workers in the regions beginning September. But on the unemployment rate, which increased by 0.1% in May compared to 4.7% in April, Kapatid Mobile Journal Julie Baiza, We're One News.
Good morning mga kapatid. You're watching Morning Matters here on One News. The first week of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial ended after 3 days with the Senate Impeachment Court tackling procedure, evidence, and early legal challenges. On day one, the Senate convened as an impeachment court, elected Senator Chis Escudero as presiding officer, and denied the prosecution's bid to immediately arraign Duterte, who was absent and appeared through counsel. On day two, the alleged kill threat video became the focus as prosecutors played a clip of Duterte's November 2024 online briefing and presented NBI cybercrime agent John Mark Calilong to authenticate the videos. On day three, Calilong finished his testimony while the court subpoenaed Duterte's Chief of Staff Zulaika Lopez for the next hearing on July 13. Prosecutors also moved to subpoena Duterte's tax records from a sealed BIR box. The The trial now moves forward with the grave threats charge at the center of the prosecution's opening salvo. Now, to help us understand the legal issues in the first week of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial, we are now joined by former Integrated Bar of the Philippines, or IBP President, Attorney Domingo Cayosa. Good morning, Attorney. Thank you for joining us again. Good morning.
Morning. Magandang umaga sa ating mga kababayan.
Okay, Attorney, natapos na po ang isang linggo, di ba po, ng ating impeachment trial. What is your overall assessment of the first 3 days of the impeachment trial?
So far, orderly naman. It is fair. The lawyers are doing their job and we should commend them for that. That inusisa. So wala naman nag-walk out. May mga issues, of course, normal yan sa isang hukuman and in a case, but they were resolved fairly quickly. So far, so good. But we hope that in the next days, hindi ganito kabagal. And we hope that in the next days, they avoid too much legalese, too much technicality and procedural details, and simplify the process, because the impeachment is not a criminal case. It's not even a civil case or an administrative case. Of course, the rules are important and the details are important, but this case is a very important case, but it is very simple. Practically all the facts are there. We've seen those facts in previous public hearings. The documents, the reports are there, the receipts are there, the affidavits, and the testimonies. And we hope that the Senate Impeachment Tribunal will take more control and direct the attention of both sides, everybody, to the really substance of the allegations and fairly evaluate them so that they can assess whether or not this would constitute the four impeachment charges, grounds, and whether or not the respondent, the Vice President, is still worthy of remaining to be in office.
Is this also related, Attorney, to the degree of leniency of presiding officer Senator Cheese Escudero and the way he's been presiding over this impeachment trial, allowing the objections, allowing both sides to raise arguments? Is that something na gusto nyo pong iwasan na sa susunod na linggo ng trial?
Well, hindi naman totally iwasan. No? So far, he has ruled on many of the motions quite fairly and quickly. His experience as a litigation lawyer or as a lawyer at the very least shows. No? But siguro sa first week, liberal sila. They allow everybody to speak para walang masabing railroading ito or unfairness. But they have to, it's not only a question of deciding whether or not totoo o hindi. It's really managing the time also of the impeachment court. Because under the Constitution, dapat mabilisan lang ito. Hindi naman ito pwedeng gawin kagaya ng mga nasa korte, criminal case na inaabot ng siyam-siyam. So ito, final ng desisyon ng impeachment court, but they have to manage. And also, unfortunately, ang nagkakatunggali dito, hindi lang yung prosecution or defense. Mukhang within the court itself, meron silang mga alitan, no? Hindi pagkakaintindihan. That's normal in a collegiate court, but they have to manage that also.
Attorney, you've already brought up the pacing of the trial itself. And as Senator Bam mentioned nga, parang 9 hours alone on one witness. The prosecution has already said that they're going to utilize the 11 days. And next week, we still have 3 witnesses lined up. How can they is it possible to maintain the 11 days, or are we going to see, an extension of time?
Well, if this is the way they will continue doing it, halos lahat ng statement, lahat ng question, may objection, may komento, may argumentation, definitely hahaba ito. Unfortunately, I think unfortunately, hindi masyadong masinop, madetalye yung pre-trial. Because the pre-trial, if conducted rigorously and very well, would have avoided many of these contentions. For example, yung video, nakita na natin lahat yan. Gagamitin ng prosecution daw. Gagamitin din pala ng defense. Ba't pa nila pinag-aawayan? Diba? All the way up to the authenticity. Sa pre-trial, pwede na sana nilang kinompare yung kopya ng magkabilang panig. Kung pare-pareho din naman, dapat, they can even excuse this witness already. So, ganun yung medyo nakaligtaan nila. But they can cure that because the impeachment judges or even the presiding senator can really ask questions to frame things even before the witnesses are asked to testify. Kasi pwede naman na marami nga silang common witnesses. O kung yun naman pala, hindi pag-usapan na ano bang sasabihin dun sa magkabilang panig. So, we hope they will do that. No? Parang siguro, at least orderly, maayos, but they have to hasten or move the case much faster than yung nangyari sa past 3 days.
But talking about the video, attorney, what is your, kumbaga parang overall assessment regarding that exhaustive cross-examination of the defense to the witness yesterday? More than 1 hour po yun, and to only to arrive at the fact na they will accept the video and say na talagang there's an oppression, systematic oppression dun sa side ng VP, kaya nagkaroon ng conditional threat. Attorney.
Well, that's a fine example of something that could have been avoided, di ba? Kung nag-stipulate na lang yan sa umpisa pa, hindi na sana kinakailangan ito. But we cannot also fault the lawyers. They're competent, they're smart, they're young, and they're just doing their job. Kung walang stipulation, so lahat ng maaring pwedeng sitahin, sisitahin talaga nila yan. Lalo na kung ang approach is very procedural or siguro ang nila parang gagawin parang criminal case. Hindi naman criminal case ito .
Right.
So we cannot also fault them. That's their job. But the impeachment court has to assert itself. They have to bring down the level of the procedure na isimplify nila na naiintindihan ng taong bayan at naiintindihan din ng mga hukom na hindi abogado. Yung the legalities, the technicalities, the procedural details should not prevail over the substance of the evidence at saka yung mga argumento nila.
Per attorney, based on your observation, is there any value to still verifying the authenticity of this video and the matter by which it was investigated? Because Senator Risa Ontiveros raised an interesting question on day 2 of the trial, and she asked, how is this material to proving that this grave threats can constitute as an impeachable offense? She wanted to know, mayroon nga ba talagang na contract na assassin, na hitman? Did the Vice President go as far as talking to someone to actually kill the President, the First Lady, and the former Speaker? What are your thoughts on that, attorney?
Well, that's a very good point, no? They have to frame it properly, no? Like for example, questioning the authenticity. Pareho naman silang gagamitin nila yung video na yan na ebidensya . So they could have done that. Of course, it is necessary that they check that nothing is spliced, nothing is subtracted, nothing is added. But they could have done that during pre-trial, even before they present their witnesses. Para kung pareho naman pala, edi naiwasan na sana yung ilang oras sa pagtatalo dyan. Pangalawa, it's very important for the impeachment court to frame and outline for themselves and for the people ano ba yung importante dito. They have to remind themselves and everyone the charge is not grave threats. That's a criminal charge. And the impeachment court, hindi yan yung kanilang trabaho. If you want grave threats, a criminal charge, you go to ordinary courts. Impeachment ito. So itong pagbabanta is only an example of yung culpable violation of the Constitution or betrayal of the public trust. So yan ba would amount to culpable violation of the Constitution? As a matter of fact, even the defense the respondent does not deny na merong ganyan. Ang sinasabi lang niya, parte daw ng freedom of expression. Now they're trying to siguro introduce at tingnan natin bakit niya nasabi yan. So they have to grapple with that. And at the same time, bakit kinakailangan bang meron ng assassin para culpable violation of the Constitution? Or the fact that you made the threat itself would be culpable violation of the Constitution. So ganun ho dapat ang punto nila para mas mabilis ang pagpatakbo ng kaso na without sacrificing accuracy and fairness and due process to both sides.
Attorney, since you brought it up already, can we get your thoughts on the defense's approach? Because they did not deny that she uttered the words, but instead justified the utterance of the words because she felt that there was a threat to her and her family. Can you break this approach down for us and why the defense possibly chose to go with this?
Well, I don't know the reasons. We can only speculate, diba? But also, you have to understand that both sides are not only appealing to the center judges, they are also pandering to the taong bayan. This case is fully televised, so the reactions, the thoughts, the feedback from the people would factor in dun sa desisyon ng mga senador na iko-convict ba o hindi. And that's a reality. This is quasi-judicial and quasi-political. As a matter of fact, it's even a social and ethical weighing things, no? So, baka dun sila pumupunta na normally, kung ikaw ay inagrabyado din, sasabihin ng common tao, di pwede ka rin magmura, pwede ka rin mag-threat. Ganun yung common sense. But in law, hindi naman ibig sabihin na dapat dahil na agrabyado ka, you can employ illegal things that might amount to culpable violation of the Constitution. Kasi yun ho yung charge. So that can also be the other aspect also is they might have wanted to chip away the credibility and competence of the witness. But then again, yun nga, why do you have to do that? Admitted naman na sinabi talaga niya, focus on your defense. Hindi na sana yung titipagin mo pa yan, hindi nyo naman dinideny.
Mm-hmm. Well, Attorney, I want to ask you also about the relevance of playing the video of the former Chief of Staff of the Vice President. It showed there na siya po ay being against doon sa being transferred to another detention in the dead of the night. Did the defense succeed in showing pattern of persecution, or did it just prove or showed na if you are working with the Vice President, diba, you are entitled with some exemptions, special treatment? Attorney.
Yeah, well, that's a very intelligent point of view, and that's why lawyers have to be very careful. When you present something, it can be perceived different ways, diba? So, yan, i-present nila. So, it can generate a feeling na, nga naman, inaapi na nila, inaagrabyado, umiiyak na nga yung tao. Therefore, yung boss niya, pwede siyang magmura, pwede na siyang mag-threaten. Ganun ang pag-iisip ng iba eh. But in law, it may be different. Diba? Na you cannot right a wrong. Assuming there's a wrong, you cannot right a wrong with another wrong. So that's a legal principle. So it's for the lawyers eventually to bring that out. So naintindihan natin yung effort at duty of the defense to bring the whole event in context. Diba? Maaari yun ang kanilang pakay. But as you pointed out, meron din iba sasabihin, bakit ba kung yung ibang tao hindi naman sinasaklolohan, bakit pag ikaw tauhan ka, pwede nang gawin yan sa Presidente at First Lady at sa Speaker of the House. Pwede rin ganun ang tanong ng taong bayan eh. So maganda na everything is out there in the public arena, nandun kayong media. Para sa ganun, hindi lang yung mga trolls o yung mga press statements ng prosecution or defense ang makikita ng taong bayan, kundi ang kalahatan. Yun lang, they have to manage it kasi baka masyadong umabay.
Mm-hmm. And attorney, one of the defenses that the defense panel raised is that those on the receiving end of the threat or the offended parties, PBBM, the First Lady, the former Speaker, never actually filed a complaint. They did submit any affidavit also on these alleged threats of the Vice President. Is that a sound argument on the side of the defense? What point were they trying to make there?
Well, I think that's more of a social or political argument. Diba? Sa ordinary time ba, yan, kung agrabyado ka, di magkaso ka. But that's not a legal defense. Ang dami ng mga naagrabyado, hindi nga nagkakaso. Bakit? Kasi hindi sila naniniwala sa hustisya o kaya, ba't pa ako magkaso wala namang mangyayari, napakatagal. So, it can be that, so it can also be argued differently. But all of these things, pwede na rin sana nilang pinag-usapan. Kasi totoo namang walang final na case eh. But you don't need to file a case for a crime or a culpable violation of the Constitution to occur or any of the grounds of impeachment to occur. So, mga ganitong mga posturing, pwede rin sana pinag-usapan, nag-agree na lang sila, and then mga memorandum na lang nila. But of course, again, this is a case of its own. It's a class by itself. Ina-appeal din nila yung mga ginagawa at nag-a-appeal din sila sa taong bayan.
Attorney, another topic of conversation with many people would be the many objections raised during the impeachment trial. We can look at this through several lenses. There's the legal point of view, the strategic point of view, and the public's point of view. Could you explain to us why the objections are necessary, or why either team even Attorney Michael Poa said it's natural for lawyers to do this. They're just doing their jobs.
Well, he's correct, no? And also you have to understand, litigation lawyers are trained that way. Meron lang silang makitang basis for objection. It is their ethical duty to raise it. Kaya nga dyan sana ma-avoid yan kung may stipulation of facts na mas maayos. At naglahad na ng kanyang mga depensa at akusasyon. Ang mahirap kasi yung answer ng Vice President is hindi niya tinutumbok yung mga akusasyon. He's not denying or accepting anything. He's medyo tangential ang kanyang sagot. So siguro nahirapan din silang mag-stipulate dahil sa ganon. But tama naman si Atty. Poa, trabaho lang nila yon. But then again, hindi ito criminal case eh. It's not even a civil case. So it is correct that you go by the rules, but not too much technicality. Yung bang nangyari ba yan o hindi? Ginawa ba o hindi? O kung ginawa, o ano yung explanation mo? So, you can go direct to those things. Hindi na yung mga detalye. But they also understand na kung may konting kulang, pupunain mo yan para hopefully you can convince the observer na wala, kalokohan lang ito. May mga konti-konti o baka maniwala sila. O kaya kung minsan yung iba, parang basketball na eh. Ang binibilang kung ilang objection, kung ilang overrule, ilang sustain, hindi ho sana ganun ha. Hindi ito pagalingan ng mga abogado. Hindi ito paramihan ng objection, sustain, overruled, at kung ano-ano pang diskurso. Balikan natin yung ano ba talaga nangyari, ano bang totoo. Yung mga alam na nating lahat, yung tanggap na nating lahat, magkabilang panig, masyadong pag-aawayan. And then, anong mas important, anong rason mo dito, anong explanation mo dito, and then, katanggap-tanggap ba yan o hindi? Ganun lang ho sana yan.
Well, attorney, kasi, di ba, parang nangyayari, this country is so divided na pati sa court, nagkakaroon ng mga kanya-kanyang manok, kaya nagkakaroon ng mga scoring.
May mga day 1 winner,
diba?
day 2 winner.
Oo. Pero attorney, I wanna take this opportunity to ask you also about, because Attorney Torion, among other lawyers, has gone to the Supreme Court once again, this time around asking to stop or halt the impeachment and questioning the authority of presiding officer Escudero to preside the impeachment trial, no? The question here is that can the Supreme Court intervene in an impeachment that is already underway? And what happens kung nag-intervene sila? Will it delay the impeachment trial?
I'll answer the second question. Kung mag-intervene na naman dito ang Supreme Court, definitely madidelay, lalong-lalo, pa-i-intervene na naman nila. Pero sa tingin ko, maingat na ngayon ang Supreme Court. Kasi kung maalala natin, if you remember, a year ago, they stopped the impeachment. And the Supreme Court suffered a lot of credibility crisis at kinulugsa sila ng halos lahat nakakaalam at nakakaunawa sa batas at konstitusyon. If you remember, that decision of the Supreme Court was one of the most criticized decision of the Supreme Court na halos lahat nagsasabing judicial overreach yan. So I hope they've learned their lesson na huwag masyadong makialam dun sa mga bagay-bagay sa konstitusyon na wala naman sa kanilang poder. Huwag na silang makisawsaw dito, and if they can avoid it, mas maganda ipaubaya mo na sa impeachment court. Lalong-lalo na yung mga dalawang issues na tinadala nila sa Supreme Court, mukhang meron namang matibay na basehan sa konstitusyon at saka sa batas.
You know, Attorney, ahead of this impeachment trial, a lot of lawyers, a lot of analysts have said that this allegation on grave threats could potentially be the strongest article of impeachment. In fact, even the House prosecutors themselves said they decided to go with this article as the first one to be presented because it was the least contentious, at least in terms of facts. But now that we've seen a glimpse of the strategy, of the arguments of the prosecution and the defense, what do you think, Attorney? Can this particular article of impeachment constitute an impeachable offense of the Vice President?
Well, the fact that it happened, hindi na dapat yung pinag-aawayan. But what we need to hear is ano ba yung explanation ng respondent. Hindi pa natin naririnig yun. So we cannot at this point extrapolate o kaya prejudge. Doon sana ang kumbukin nila. At tama yung mga abogado, tama yung taong bayan, tama kayo. Ito yung pinakasimple. Alam na nating lahat. Mukhang yung mga nasa korte lang hindi nakakaalam. But alam din nila yon. But they have to go through all of these niceties and all the details. Mas sana, puntahan na yung ano ba yung rason ng presidente dito. Kung hindi malinaw dun sa kanyang written answer, pwede namang i-elicit yan sa impeachment court ngayon. Pwede naman nilang tanungin yung defense para ma-frame ng maayos. Alam nila kung itong mga ebidensya ito, kinakailangan pa ba o hindi na. And that's the beauty and the benefit kung nagtatanong ng matino yung mga senator judges na ibaba at ibalik dito at ibaba sa level na naiintindihan ng lahat. Kasi yung video naiintindihan na nating lahat. So, yung alam na natin lahat yan, hindi nga dinideny ng respondent. So, ang mas mahalaga dito, sige, tabi natin yan. And then, later on, bigyan sila, ano ba talaga ang explanation mo dito, ang depensa mo dito? Kesa yung, ang haba-haba, tinatanggap nyo pala, ebidensya nyo pareho, pero pag-aawayan nyo pa kung yan ba ay kumpleto, yan ba ay AI, yan ba ay splice, pati yung mga nag-identify lang dun sa kopya na ginawa, pati lahat ng mga kompetensya. Of course, that's usual, but this is not a criminal case.
Right.
Since obviously the impeachment trial just started, it's just been the first 3 days, public interest, all-time high, still very much invested. But again, when the proceedings are ongoing, as you mentioned, the technicalities, people tend to zone out because they don't understand it. Why is it important to retain public interest? And is there anyone who's going to lose once the public decides, I don't understand this, I'm just going to watch every now and then, or I'll just stop watching altogether?
You know, the framers of the Constitution in our country and many other countries know that. That's why ang dapat yan, ang essence ng Constitution, they should do it as soon as possible, na hindi patagalin. Why? Because that's a very important position. We need some stability. At the same time also, kailangan engage ang taong bayan. So, what we have to avoid are efforts to dribble, to delay, to divert, or even go to the Supreme Court and try to stop it from the outside na naman, itong impeachment case o kaya i-dribble to grandstanding in aid of re-election or election, di ba? at hintayin hanggang umabot sa election para lahat politikahan na naman. So we should avoid that. We should guard against that. So it is important na magawa nila yon na hindi masyadong patagalin ito. That's why we appeal to the senators to be in control, simplify things so that matumbok natin ito. Because otherwise, and it is very important that the public remains focused or engaged. And that's why we should thank media like you na tinatalakay nyo ito. Kasi kung hindi, ang mamamayani dito, mga trolls, kanya-kanyang bayaran, kanya-kanyang mga kasinungalingan, kanya-kanyang opinion. At, they're so good at magnifying things and multiplying things. So, mass media, responsible journalism, and of course, mga people like us who comment, pag-aralan lang mabuti, let's redirect it to that. Because yung importante yung pulso ng taong bayan. As a matter of fact, ang nakasakdal dito, hindi lang yung respondent o yung mga abogado, yung mga hukom, yung buong sambayan ng Pilipino. Because kung hindi na tayo interesado o kaya ma-feel ng mga senador o lahat ng mga actors at parties na wala nang pakialam ang Pilipino dyan, sanay na tayo sa kurakutan, tanggap na natin yan, mas importante sa atin yung naambunan tayo paminsan-minsan o popular sila o makapagyarihan o kaya binoto natin sila, okay na lang yung nakawan o yung abuso o yung pagpapabaya sa mga matataas na opisyal ng ating gobyerno. Baka yun nga ang gagawin ng mga hukom na yun naman pala, okay naman sa taong bayan, edi okay na lang ito, ba't pa natin tatanggalin? So that's why it is very important that yung proseso hindi masyadong matagal kasi tama yung observation nyo. Kung masyadong technical ito, sabi na, labanan na lang ng abogado ito, huwag na natin pakita walang mangyayari dyan. That would be very unfortunate because nakasalalay din sa atin. Ano bang level ng ating konsepto ng accountability? How tolerant are we about abuse of power, about irregularities, katiwalian, o minsan kalokohan, vis-a-vis yung ating loyalty kasi binoto natin sila, naambunan tayo sila, popular sila, makapangyarihan sila. So, dapat engaged din tayo. At tinatansya yan ng mga politician, senators.
Yeah. Well, kaya nga sinasabi nila, attorney, di ba, kung ikaw manonood, even if you are a lawyer, don't wear your hat as a lawyer while watching, di ba? Di ba? Watch it as a regular joke. Pero, attorney, tanong ko lang din, what do you think about, what do you have to say about the behavior, no, the way the witness conducted himself yesterday, si NBI agent John Mark Calilong? No, there were pauses in his statements. There were hesitations to some confusing questions. No? Others would say that it showed badges of veracity. But for others, or critics, no, mostly are quick to say na, ay, na-off script siya kaya ganyan. So, your thoughts on that?
But number one, he's a professional. He knows his job. Hindi ho naman ito yung mga pakawala na witness. He's an officer of the NBI, matagal na siya dyan, meron naman silang sufficient knowledge. At saka totoo naman na siya ang gumawa ng mga reproduction So yun lang naman ang importante. Hindi naman siya yung magsasabi guilty or not guilty So normal din yan, ito. No? Mas magdududa ka, there's a principle in evidence, especially in evidence. Kung perfect yan, walang hesitation, walang pauses, walang pagkakamali, doon ka magdududa, baka nga minemorize yan. So, yung mga small, that's normal for any witness. Sometimes, di ba, show him the document to refresh because the witness is not expected to memorize all the details.
Everything.
Oo, of course, parte yan ng strategy ng mga abogado na may maliit na tuldok, hindi nabanggit. Yun ang i-magnify. Pero balikan na, ano ba talaga purpose ng witness? Ako ho yung gumawa ng kopya, hinanap ko. Nakita ko ito Facebook ng ganito. Di ba? Alam na natin yan. Minsan nga, parang feeling na maraming nanonood. Hindi na namin ikaw kailangan, alam na namin yan.
Attorney, curious din ako, ano naman yung take nyo dun sa mga counsel on how they conducted themselves, the prosecution and the defense from the lead counsels, from Congresswoman Jinky Luistro to Attorney Sheila Sison, pati na rin yung nanguna dito sa first article na sina Attorney Ligutan and Attorney Narvasa.
Well, they're fellow lawyers of mine, they're colleagues of mine. But, I have to salute them. They're very professional, no? They're very competent. They're aggressive. And that should be the case because, when you represent one side or the other, you remain faithful to that. So we also have to understand that for every legal position, you can cite different laws, different jurisprudence, different rules to back you up. So it's their duty na ilabas nila yun. Alangan naman tatanggapin nila kaagad yung sinasabi ng kalaban. That's the professional job of lawyers. So they're competent, they're prepared, saludo tayo sa kanila. Ang iwasan lang sana, yung may mag-grandstanding. Na yung kahit hindi na kinakailangan sasabihin lang para maka-score ng punto dun sa mga netizens na siguro gumagawa ng scoreboard ng mga objection o mga overrule o kung ano-ano, di ba? So, I hope they remain professional. But they should also be mindful dun sa public good o public interest sa kaso na ito. Pwede ba tumbukin na natin yung importante, simplihan na lang natin para hindi masyadong tumagal at manatili ang focus ng taong bayan at manatili ang ating focus. Ano bang totoo? At kung totoo, ito ba ay sufficient ground? Ito ba impeachable offense? At ito ba ay enough to remove her from office? Yun sana. Galingan na lang nila yung mga memorandum nila. Yung questions of fact, hindi na masyado. Kasi nandyan na po yan.
All right. Thank you so much as always for your time, Attorney Domingo Cayosa. Thank you and good morning.
Maraming salamat. Good morning sa lahat.
All right, now don't go away. We still have more matters to discuss after this quick break. Keep it here on One News.
Good morning, I'm Cheska Litoncalao. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The defense team of Vice President Sara Duterte said it met its objectives during the cross-examination of the prosecution's first witness on the third day of the Senate impeachment trial. Defense spokesperson Attorney Michael Poa gave the team's performance a perfect 10 out of 10 and praised co-counsel Attorney CJ Narvasa for handling the cross-examination. According to POA, the defense focused on the investigation conducted by authorities, the context of the video presented by the prosecution, and the importance of properly authenticating the recording. The defense also chose not to request the playback of the full 2-hour video during the witness testimony.
Para sa akin, 10 out of 10 din. Score internally, meaning we're very happy that we hit our targets. But as to yung scoring on nanalo ba kami today or yesterday or ano, I really don't want to do that.
And joining us now to share his legal perspective on the ongoing impeachment trial is former Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo. Good morning, attorney, and welcome to Morning Matters.
Good morning, three beautiful ladies.
Hi, attorney. Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning, attorney. Naku, kitang-kita po namin kayo kahapon, attorney, no, sa impeachment court. Siguro, can you tell us muna, are you advising or aiding the defense counsel in any way, attorney?
Ako ay nahihiyahan lang doon ako pinaupo doon sa lugar na yun. Nag-iisa lang ako doon. Buti may biglang may dumating pang isa. Anyway, alam po ninyo, I thought I was watching an impeachment trial. Yung pala, ang pinapanood ko pala ay propaganda proceeding. Sapagkat, itong presiding officer, lumabas na ang kulay niya. Can you imagine, hinayaan niya ang abogado ng prosecution na magtalumpati ron, magpropaganda ron laban sa respondent. At pagkatapos sabihin niya, dahil inobjekan siya, tama yung objection ng depensa. Teka muna, wala yata sa regla yung ginagawa niya. Dapat magpresenta siya through the witness. Pero sabi ng presiding officer, hindi, tuloy natin. Pakinggan muna natin saka ako mag-rule. Can you imagine that kind of ruling? Makikinig daw muna siya. Meanwhile, ang buong bansa nakinig na. Tapos mag-ruling siya na i-strike out. Narinig na lahat. Kaya, ang nangyari, dahil may pumuna sa kanya, ano sabi niya, since narinig na natin, bigyan na rin natin ng pagkakataon yung kabila. Ayun, naging propaganda ang labanan.
Yeah. Well, attorney, the other day naman, parang he was also like that with the defense. Diba? Parang pinagbigyan din naman niya yung defense.
Hindi, I mean, pinagbigyan. Wala namang siya. In fact, palagi niya nga ino-overrule ang depensa eh. Ang problema nga, pag nag-ruling siya, halimbawa, sabi niya, may nag-object. O sige, pakinggan ko muna. Paano nagsimula na yung propaganda, nagtalumpati na siya ron. Saka ka lang mag-rule? Mali lahat yun. Ang problema kasi nga, di ba pinalitan niya si Gatchalian. Kasi sa ilalim ng batas talagang dapat si Senador Gatchalian. Sinasabi nila wala naman daw sinasabi sa ligang batas. Maliwanag ang sabi ng sa ligang batas. Sino ba ang impeachment court? Ang Senado. Sino ba ang presiding officer ng Senado? O hindi ang Senate President. So, naglagay ngayon ng mga framers of the Constitution, yan ang presiding officer, impeachment court. Pero pag ang presidente ang nililitis, kailangan Chief Justice. Madali sabi, the general rule is that the Senate President will sit as presiding officer in all impeachment cases except only when the President is on trial. Yan ang maliwanag nga. Bakit pinalitan? Kung natatandaan nyo, ilang araw na sinasabi ni Senador Gatchalian na magpipreside siya, pinagandaan niya, pinag-aaralan niya, in-announce niya pa sa flag ceremony. Tapos a few hours later, biglang nabaliktad. Bakit? Kasi hindi nila makokontrol si Gatchalian. Independent-minded to eh. So pinilit nila yung isa na, di ba? Nagbumaliktad na nga ito eh. Kaya't makikita natin sa mga galaw niya ngayon, kaya pala.
Pero attorney, do you think yung sa pagbaligtad ni Senator Cheese Escudero, as you mentioned kanina, ay meron bang political accommodation ito kaya siya nandiyan ngayon as the presiding officer?
Ay, hindi po ba inaakusahan siya, nakasama siya sa anomalya at kaya kakasuhan? Hindi ba yan naman ang katotohanan dyan eh. Yung dalawang bumaliktad, may mga nakabinbin na investigasyon at kaso na ipapile. O yung dalawa, dahil hindi pumayag, ayan, nakakulong sila ngayon. Yan naman talagang katotohanan. Huwag na natin paglululokohin ng mga sarili natin. That's the reality.
Sir, you had a front row seat at the impeachment trial. Was there anything going on that maybe the general public watching on TV did not see that you were able to witness?
That you can share with us?
What I can tell you is that, as I said, I thought I was watching an impeachment trial, pero naging propaganda proceeding. Pangalawa, hindi ko maintindihan ng prosecution. Bakit nila ginawang testigo itong NBI agent? Ano ba ang purpose nila? Ayon sa kanila, this person will authenticate the proceeding na nangyari dun sa November 24 na press conference ni Inday Sara. Ibabalidate niya, madalit sabi. Teka muna, sino ba nag-question? Wala naman nag-question sa defense. I have not heard any statement from the defense that we are questioning that event never happened. That the Vice President never uttered those statements she is being accused of as a threat. Wala, hindi ba? O sa madaling sabi, ba't mo ilalagay yun? Anong purpose mo? Madaling sabi, yung pinag-uusapan nilang video, mismong si Vice Presidente Duterte, hindi niya tinatanggi yun. Ang pinag-uusapan dapat doon, prubahan ninyo na yung mga sinabi niya ay babagsak sa impeachable offense o isang krimen para maging grounded yung inyong demanda. Ay hindi eh. Ang ginawa nyo, ginamit nyo na yung testigo para siraan siya. Ang nangyari pa nga, naging useful sa prosecution. Kasi lumalabas na itong testigo, unang-una, hindi naman talaga siya expert. Pangalawa, meron siyang mga sinasabi doon sa mga investigasyon niya na nagpapakita na hindi malalim ang naging investigasyon niya. Kasi hindi niya kinonsider yung mga kalakaran o circumstances leading to the statement of the Vice President. Kasi the statement of the Vice President was only a reaction to a blogger's question. Kung baga, dahil ang tanong ng blogger, paano na ho yan? Nanganganib ang buhay nyo, gusto kayong patayin. Kaya ang sagot naman ng isa, huwag ka mag-alala. May mga kinausap na ako and so forth and so on. Ibig kong sabihin, yung kanyang mga salitang yon ay, kumbaga siya po ay tumatawag ng pansin at humihingi ng tulong sa mga kababayan natin na ang buhay ko po ay nanganganib ngayon, may papatay sa akin at kung ako po ay mapatay, ito pong tatlong ito ang sa aking pananaw ang magiging utak ng pagpatay sa akin. Kaya tulungan niyo ako, ipaghiganti niyo ako. Yun ho ang context noon. Never pagbabanta. One thing more. The few hours after she made that statement, nagbigay na ako ng opinion dyan. Sabi ko, hindi yan banta, conditional and hypothetical. Hindi po ba si Chief Presidential Legal Counsel yung pumalit sa akin? Si Johnny Ponce Enrile? Nagbigay na ng opinion dyan. Sinabi niya, that statement of Inday Sara is not grave threat, is not even a threat because it's hypothetical na, conditional pa. Eh bakit nila pinagpipilitan? Kasi nga, the underlying objective of all this is to obliterate her, to stop her from running, disqualify her para hindi na siya maging kandidato sa presidente. Dahil siguradong mananalo eh. At pag nanalo ito, patay na. Hindi na sila manatili sa kapangyarihan.
Pero kahapon, attorney, parang nabanggit na rin po ng defense through attorney Mark Vinluan, yung Operation Romanov. And yan yung sinasabing alleged plot din para patayin ang Vice President, si Sara Duterte. Sa tingin niyo po ba dapat ang defense ay magpakita din ng evidence para po dyan?
Hindi ko kailangan kasi sino ba nagsasabi na Sino ba unang-una, yung sinasabing panganib, inilabas na ni Inday Sara yon. At ang panawagan niya noon, imbestigahan niyo yan. Dahil may mga naririnig ako na ako'y papatayin. At saka, the way things are shaping up, pinagkakaisaan ako sa Kongreso, pinagkakaisaan ako sa Executive, tapos may mga nakikita akong sumusunod sa akin, sa harap ng bahay ko. Dapat ang gobyerno gumawa na ng sasaliksik, pagsusuri, kung ano ang katotohanan dun sa kanyang pangamba na meron nga. Hindi naman nila inintindihan, di ba? Wala silang ginawa.
Well, Attorney Sal, going back po dun sa sinasabi niyo kanina na dun sa witness, bakit yun yung witness ng prosecution, etc. Pero bakit naman po ang defense ay, kumbaga, umabot na po ng more than 1 hour yung kanilang cross-examination sa kanya, questioning his credibility, the authenticity of the video, only to arrive at a statement, diba, bago matapos yung trial kahapon, saying na kumbaga, there's a pattern of a persecution na tinatanggap nila yung video.
Kasi nga, ang punto ng defense, ipinakita nyo ang witness nito na inimbestigahan, di umano. And yet, lumalabas doon sa direct examination at pati sa cross-examination na hindi naman malalim ang kanyang investigasyon. Hindi niya tiningnan yung mga kalakaran, hindi niya nga tinanong yung PSG, kung ano ba ang pananaw nila doon sa mga salita ni Inday Sara. Kinonsider ba nila na yun ay great threat? Hindi. Madaling sabi, niluto lang nila. At lumalabas, ito'y galing lahat sa Malacanang kasi ang NBI is under the Executive Department. Hindi ba tama yung sinasabi ng defense? Hindi ba dapat ang una ninyong puntahan o yung senador na nagsalita na dapat tinanong niyo yung PSG, ano ba tingin niyo dyan? May banta nga ba? O wala? Pero hindi raw nila. Hindi naisip o sinadyang hindi tanongin. Kaya, lalong napasama. By using that witness, naging useful sa defense at useless sa prosecution. Damaging, in fact.
Speaking of Malacanang, Attorney, can we get your thoughts on Malacanang's reactions that they mentioned that it's better for the Vice President to face the allegations personally rather than rely on the legal team to address technicalities. Just your thoughts, sir.
Unang-una, hindi naman kasi abogado yan si Presidente Marcos Jr. Yung iba ng mga abogado na following the same line, kasi nga gusto nilang ipahiya itong si Presidente. They're forgetting that under the Constitution, the presumption of innocence applies to all accused and respondents in an impeachment trial. The burden of proof lies with the prosecution. Kaya dapat sila ang nagpupruba. Ang respondent o akusado need not present any evidence at all. Kasi nga, pinagpapalagay na inosente siya. Kaya hindi dapat talaga pumunta siya roon. Lalong-lalo pa nga, sinasabi ng mga abogado niya, teka muna, wala kaming nakikitang legal basis ng pagdemanda nyo. Wala kaming nakikitang ebidensya. Nangyayari nga sa inyo, nag-fishing expedition sa kayo sa Committee on Justice. O kagaya niyan. Yung nga example ko, itong testigo ng NBI kahapon, ano ba ang gusto niyang ikumpirma na nagkaroon ng press conference? Wala naman nagki-question nun di ba?
Right.
Madali sabi, wala kayong ebidensya. Kaya kung sino-sino na lang ang nilalagay nyo at ginagamit nyo, gaya ng paggamit nung nagpupropagandang abogado ng prosecution. Apparently, ngayon lang siya napunta sa telebisyon. Kaya katakot-takot na talumpati ang ginagawa niya, takot-takot na objection kahit walang basis, para lang yung camera nakapokus sa kanya. Ito naman presiding officer, nag-aabogado na rin sa prosecution. Dapat kasi dyan, pag ikaw ay presiding officer, dapat hindi ka papayag. Another thing, buti naalala ko. Alam po ba ninyo, na mali ang ruling ng presiding officer. Sinasabi niya na dapat daw mga senador huwag magtatanong na maaaring matingnan whether pro or against ang kanilang mga tanong. Mali! Pangalawa, nililimitahan ang pagtatanong ng mga judges, senador. Hindi po pwede yun. Ito po ay isang hukom na ang binubuo ng 24 senador. Ang Supreme Court, 15 ang miyembro. Ang Sandigan Bayan ng division nila 3. Kayo ba nakakita na nililimitahan ng isang justice ang pagtatanong? Umaabot pa nga ng 30 minutes yan Madali sabi, huwag mong pigilan, huwag mong pagbawalan ang mga judges kasi dapat itanong nyo na ang lahat ng tanong nyo. It doesn't matter whether sa tingin mo kumakampi or kumakalaban sa kabila. Ang mahalaga yung tanong at yung sagot para makita ng taong bayan at yung mga nagtatanong din mismo kung ano isasagot ng testigo. Kaya sabi ko nga po, ang suggestion ko kay Senate President, you have to change the rules. Bakit kayo pumapayag? Mga judge kayo Kailangan bigyan kayo ng laya. Pareho na sa Supreme Court, sa Sandigan Bayan. O yan ang mga nakita kong kamalian ng impeachment trial.
Attorney, pagdating naman dun sa absence ni Vice President Sara Duterte sa kanyang sariling trial, yan po ay binabatikos ng ilang mga critics, ng mga analysts, na it shows na hindi niya sineseryoso itong impeachment trial. And they've also pointed out na kahit ang defense team ng Vice President, walang categorical denial or even saying na siya ay inosente dito sa mga allegations sa kanyang kinahaharap. Ano pong masasabi niyo po doon?
Ano mo bang gusto nila? Ano sinasabi nilang hindi seryoso? Nagpadala nga ng battery of lawyers At yung sinagot na nga yung demanda nila. Ang sagot nila, oy, wala naman kayo mga ultimate facts na inaalis dito. Di wala. Ano sasagutin namin sa inyo? Madaling sabi, wala kayong kaso. O ba't pa kami sasagot? Pero, nandun sila. Kung baga, aantayin namin kung meron nga kayong ebidensya o wala. Maghihintay kami sa trial.
Well, Attorney, given the fact yung sinasabi niyo po na tungkol doon sa mga naging pagbanta, conditional threat ni Vice President Sara Duterte, that's normal dahil she was being oppressed, etc., pinagtutulungan. So for an ordinary person, ang debate po dyan so okay lang po na magbanta din, lalo na sa mga government officials kung ganito po para po ma-justify yung sinasabi ni VP Sara, Attorney.
Your premise is wrong. I'm sorry to say, Angela. Sinasabi mo, okay ba ang pagbabanta? Yun din ang tanong ni Ontiveros So, magiging okay pala. Hindi nga nagbanta That was a reaction to the threat against her life. That is her defense. At nananawagan siya sa taong bayan, tulungan niyo ako. Papatayin ako dito. Bigyan niyo ako ng katarungan. Pagtanggol niyo ako. Hindi yung threat. Sinasabi na nga ng abogado ng gobyerno na si Johnny Ponce Enrile, it's not a threat. So why do we keep on insisting that that was a threat? Mismong lawyer na ng gobyerno nagsabing hindi threat yan. Politika lang yan.
Well, Attorney, legally, what qualifies as a threat if we've already heard, the Vice President say, no joke, no joke. How would you qualify a threat?
Kagaya, tingnan mo yan, yung sinasabi nila na nagkontrata siya, di ba sabi nagkontrata? O tama, pinupunto ni Tiberos. O hindi naman yun napapatunayan na may nagkontrata nga ng assassin yan. So ang tanong ko sa inyo, ano ba ito? Krimen ba ito? O masamang asal lang ang ginawa ni Inday Sara? Manilit sabi, wala akong pagbabantang ginawa kung hindi yun ay ang kanyang pahayag sa taong bayan, reaction niya sa threat sa kanyang buhay.
Attorney, pagdating naman sa threshold for conviction, sinabi na po ni Presiding Officer Senator Cheese Escudero na ang magiging threshold para sa trial ay 16 pa rin. 2/3 of all members of the Senate, and that is 16. Wala naman pong ibang senator judge ang nag-object po dyan. So ano pong masasabi nyo na at least the presiding officer is sticking to the Constitution?
Unang-una, hindi siya nagsabi niyan. Ang nagsasabi ng 16 ay ang konstitusyon. Matagal na ho nating sinasabi yan noong pa na yung 24 ang magiging basis kasi 3 kalakaran lamang ang pwedeng gamitin para i-reduce mo yung 24. Either ikaw ay namatay, ikaw ay tinanggal, in-expel, or ikaw ay nag-resign. Otherwise, palaging 24 yan. At hindi rin totoo yung, kasi parang nasabi mo kanina na walang kumontra. Meron! Kumukontra si Lacson. Talagang pasaway yan eh. Sinasabi niya na yung 16, open pa yon. Questionable pa yon. Kasi gusto nga nila, pababaan nyo. Kasi nahihirapan sila dun sa 16 na conviction. Kaya gusto nila, ibaba yung bilang ng 2/3 ng 1/6. Pag nga naman yung pumayag ka na yung mga nakakulong, hindi makakaboto, di ba baba? Di ba baba rin yung threshold mo? Pero hindi ho eh. Maliwanag ang saligang batas. Kasi liwanag din, ang presiding officer dapat ang Senate President. Kaya binabago nila. Kasi nga, the underlying objective of all this is to disqualify Inday Sara, remove her, oust her, obliterate her, siraan mo para yan ay hindi na makatakbong presidente sapagkat siguradong mananalong presidente.
Well, Attorney, why do you think po na nagpupush po si Senator Alan Peter Cayetano na makapag-participate pa rin po si Senator Rodante Marcoleta and Senator Jinggoy Estrada dito sa impeachment court when in fact we can now say based on the ruling na kahit hindi po sila makaboto, makaparticipate, that means acquittal na po yun for sure on that part.
Ay siyempre, kung ikaw naman, kung ikaw ba senador, tatahimik ka na lang na yung kasama mo, nakakulong na hindi mo pwede mag-participate, pwede naman mag-participate. Pwede mo namang humingi ka kasi natatanda mo yung mga ibang impeachment trial. Hindi ba yung mga ibang testigo ron nagpaalam sila kasi nakakulong Nagpaalam sa hukuman, pinayagan naman. Ba't naman hindi ka pwede pumayag? After all, sinasabi ng inosente ang akusado hanggat hindi napapatunayan. Kaya talagang dapat mag-participate para maibigay din ang kanilang mga kuro-kuro o pagtatanong.
Ay, Attorney, sino yung tinatawag mo dyan?
Hindi kasi nakikita sa likod ko.
Andito kami.
Nakikita sa likod ko itong... Huwag ka sa likod ko, bulong. Talaga namang pasaway. Parang sila sundin to sa kasi Escudero, pasaway
Pero one last po on my side, Attorney. What is your fearless forecast dito sa impeachment trial? Although kakasimula pa lang, based po sa article na to and moving forward, sa tingin niyo po ba makukonvict ito si VP Sara?
Ito talaga titingnan mo, kung ang ebidensya pinag-uusapan, walang ebidensya. So kung walang ebidensya, dapat absuelto. Dapat nga zero conviction. Pero hindi naman yun ang kalakaran. Kalakaran talaga, they will be deciding on the basis of their political future. Makakabuti ba sa kanila ang pag-absuelto? Makakabuti ba ang kanilang conviction vote? Yun ang pag-aaralan natin. Sa ngayon kasi, naroon ang perception sa galaw ng mga ibang senador, makikita mo talagang kontrang-kontra kay Inday Sara. Pag itong mga ito ay susugin mo yung galaw nila, ay talagang conviction yan. Wala nang iba. Pero ang katunayan dyan, the way things are shaping up, nakikita ko mukhang nag-aaral itong mga senador. Mukhang baka in the final analysis, titingnan nila kung talagang, ano ba ito, pinolitical lang ba ito si Vice Presidente o talagang may kasalanan to. Kasi lumalabas sa unang article pa lang, mukhang wala na. So, sino na sila doon? Kasi kahit na si Ontiveros, na sinasabi kong pusakal na anti-Duterte, maganda yung tanong niya. Ano ba? Hindi naman yun naprobahan na meron salarin. Ano ba ito? Ito ba impeachable offense? Crimen ba ito? O ito yung masamang asal lang ang ginawa ni Inday Sara na nagpayag siya ng gano'n. Doon makikita mo na kahit na si Ontiveros sa kontrang-kontra kay Duterte, mukhang nalalabuan sa kaso ng prosecution ng gobyerno.
All right, thank you for your time and insights, former Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo.
Thank you.
Thank you
Pwede
for
na
having
maglinis yung nasa likod mo. Yun yung highlight of the day.
Sita sa likod eh.
Alright, that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. I'm Cheska Liton-Calaw.
Let's make the day matter. I'm Helene Verzosa, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Kapatid, we're one news.
All sides,
All the time.